सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज अहं त्वा सर्वपापेभ्यो मोक्षयिष्यामि मा शुचः. Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Amrita. Before we carry on with today's video, I hope you will all subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon. In our last episode, we saw how Devavrata became Bhishma at the age of 16. Shantanu's son Devavrata took a vow to never marry, to stay a bachelor for the entire life, and hence Devavrata became Bhishma. So eventually Satyavati was married to Shantanu, and over the course of time they had two kids named Vichitravirya and Chitrangana. Shantanu, after a period of time, went into Vanavas to carry on with his life so that his soul could rest in peace. So now Hastinapur was in the hands of Bhishma. Of course, he was not the ruler, but he had promised to take care of the empire as his own, to be as the godfather to all the kings descending the throne. So Satyavati's two children, Chitrangana and Vichitravirya, of the two, Chitrangana died at a very early age. So Vichitravirya was supposed to become the next king. For a king to rule his kingdom, he should be a proper married person, so that he can bring the next generation to rule the kingdom. So when there was a Swayamvar that was held in Kashi for the princesses of Kashi, Bhishma went to the Swayamvar to take the princess and bring them along to get them married to Vichitravirya. The princesses of Kashi were Amba, Ambika and Ambalika. Princess Amba was in love with the king named Salva and promised that she would garland him in the Swayamvar that was supposed to happen. Without knowing this, Bhishma went to the Swayamvar, abducted all the three princesses, kidnapped the three princesses, took them in his chariot and came driving along to Hastinapur. On the way, definitely the other kings tried to stop Bhishma. They fought with him, but it was all of no use. Bhishma won them hands down. Salva approached Bhishma for a duo war between the two. It was a challenge that only two of them would fight. He was brutally harmed. Bhishma was not at all touchable by any of them. By the request of Amba, he let go of Salva, and eventually the princesses were born to Hastinapur to get them married to Vichitravirya. On reaching Hastinapur, Amba revealed that she was in love with Salva and that she had promised to marry him. Knowing this, Bhishma apologized to her and then, with all due respect, sent her back to King Salva. The other two princesses, Ambika and Ambalika, were eventually married to Vichitravirya. When Amba went back to Salva and told that Bhishma has sent me here so that I can live a life with you, Salva did not accept Amba because he had been defeated by Bhishma. He could not win over Bhishma to take Amba. So his manliness was in question and he rejected to get married to Amba. Not knowing what to do, she went back to Bhishma and told him whatever had happened and asked if Bhishma would marry him because nobody else would. Bhishma had already taken the brahmachari vrata of being a bachelor for his entire life, so he told he could not marry her. She was frustrated, she was irritated. She was so angry on Bhishma and thought him to be the cause of all her miseries, that she had abducted her from the Swayamvar. Again, she sent her back to Salva. Salva would not accept her. When she came back, Bhishma also rejected to marry her. She was devastated. She went around all the kingdoms asking all the kings if they would wage a war against Bhishma and if they would help her in killing him, in taking her revenge. But all the kings were so afraid of Bhishma that none of them stepped forward. They all knew how powerful Bhishma was. Eventually, she had no other option. So she went into penance. She started meditating and Lord Kartikeya appeared and gave her a garland. So the person who wears the garland would eventually kill Bhishma. So she took the garland with her and she went to each and every king in the kingdom, but none of them agreed because they knew, in spite of the garland being with them, in spite of Lord Kartikeya's blessings with them, they knew that Bhishma was so powerful and non-defeatable. So they did not want to take any risk and fight for Amba. She was so frustrated, she went and asked King Drupada, but eventually he also refused. So she was irritated and she left the garland of she left the garland of the roses over the gate of the palace to the king of Drupada. That garland, since it was given by Lord Kartikeya, had a special power, had a special unique quality that it would not fade away. The flowers would remain fresh and the garland would remain fresh. Again, not knowing what to do, she went to an ashram and started doing penance and asking everybody if the sages could help her. Eventually, she went to Parashurama and sought his support in taking revenge on Bhishma. Parashurama was Bhishma's guru. So he told he would give an option of Bhishma either to accept Amba and marry her, or eventually he had to fight a war with Parashurama. So he called Bhishma. Bhishma obliged. He eventually went there. He paid his respects and took the blessings of his guru and asked him what he could do for him. Parashurama told Bhishma to marry Amba. He refused. He told about the vow, he told about the promise that he had made on remaining a bachelor for his entire life, and that angered Parashurama. So there was a war that was declared between Parashurama and Bhishma. Bhishma had to oblige being a Kshatriya and to protect a duty of a Kshatriya. So the war went on between Parashurama and Bhishma for over 23 days. And on the 24th, both of them were equally powerful and strong and non-defeatable. On the 24th day, Bhishma was going to use a very, very powerful astra on Parashurama when the lords came forward and told Bhishma not to do so. Eventually, the war was declared to be draw, and Parashurama could not help Amba in taking revenge, in seeking her revenge. So she went to the Himalayas and did meditation invoking Lord Shiva and asked him to help her to kill Bhishma. Shiva gave her a boon that she would be born as the son of Drupada in her next birth. She would be born as a man and she would be the person who would eventually kill Bhishma. And in that next life of hers, in that next birth of hers, she would remember her previous birth, her revenge, her story of how Bhishma had spoiled her life, and she would definitely take revenge. And she would be born as the son of Drupada. So that's how Amba ended her life after that. Drupada, on the other hand, had a son. Eventually, as per Shiva's, boon, he had a son, and when that son was 6 years old, you remember the garland that was given by Lord Kartikeya that was before put upon the gates of the palace of King Drupada? So now, the 6-year-old son of Drupada goes to the palace, goes to the gates of the palace, sees the garlands hanging, takes the garland and puts it over himself. Immediately his past life he remembers. He was born as a she being Amba, in her previous life, remembered her vengeance and revenge against Bhishma, and hence the son of Drupada, he became a transgender, eventually named Shikandi. Eventually it's Shikandi who comes in front of Bhishma to fight against him and eventually wins over him. So this is how the story of Amba turning into Shikandi in her next birth, her vengeance against Bhishma, is brought about in the Adi Parva book of Mahabharat. I hope you all enjoyed the story. If you do, let me know in the comment section. I would love to answer them. Until I see you next time with the continuation of the story, it's bye from Amrita. Be good, do good always. Thank you.